first, let's start with that breaking news that Opposition Leader Sussan Ley has sensationally dumped Senator Jacinta Price over her controversial migration remarks. Here's what Sussan Ley said in the last few minutes at a press conference in Hobart.
Senator Jacinta Price has failed a test of high standard that I have set for members of my shadow ministry. Several days ago, Senator Price made comments that were deeply hurtful to Indian Australians. The comments were wrong and should not have been made. And despite being given the time and space to apologise, Senator Jacinta Price did not offer an apology today. Today, Senator Jacinta Price critically failed to provide confidence in my leadership of the Liberal Party. Confidence in the leader is a requirement for serving in the shadow ministry.
So there you go. That was Sussan Ley. Joining me to discuss is former Liberal Senator Hollie Hughes. Hollie, thanks for coming on the program tonight. What do you make of all this?
Well, you know, I think Sussan has done the right thing, and I'll tell you why for a number of reasons. And James, you know me, I was done over in pre-selection. I stayed as a member of the shadow ministerial team for 15 months, and I can tell you there was some fecal sandwiches in that. But if you want to be part of the shadow ministerial team, you need to make sure that you're able to demonstrate unity, discipline and respect. And unfortunately, that is not what we've seen over the past couple of days. Jacinta could have apologised for those comments and everyone could have moved on. Like you and so many of our viewers, we want to see an opposition that takes it up to the Labor Party. And the reality is last week that the coalition actually had a pretty good week in Parliament. They actually forced the Labor Party to make significant changes to the aged care home care packages. Now, there'll be a lot of our viewers, your viewers, my viewers out there who have family members that require these home care packages. And the opposition had a pretty good week in forcing the Labor Party to take action. Unfortunately, no one's talking about that. And, you know, the Indian community is one of our fastest growing...
Hollie, just to interrupt you, it's true no one's talking about any of that. They're all talking about Jacinta Price.
Yep.
But is that
and
Jacinta Price's fault?
No one's bigger than the team.
That's true, but you've had Liberal MPs out day after day apologising on her behalf, telling her that she must apologise. Has she been the one who's lacked discipline, or have members of the Liberal team attacking her in public been the ones that lack discipline?
Absolutely, Jacinta's lacked discipline. And you know what? I say this, I love Jacinta. Jacinta was my one door down neighbour in Parliament. And there was, you know, as the girls out there would know, there's more than one time you need someone to come and zip your dress up or something else when staff were or someone else wasn't around. So, look, I love Jacinta. But the reality is there have been some missteps. She did the most fantastic job on The Voice. But in the lead up to the Queensland state election, we saw her bring up the issue of abortion. During the federal campaign, we saw her out there in the MAGA cap, which caused Dutton a series of issues. We have a by-election in New South Wales at the moment, and a block of voters has been alienated now through the comments that she made. And no one is bigger than the team. And I'm sorry, as someone who put the team first, it's been very frustrating for me to see anyone come out and think that they're bigger than the Liberal Party, bigger than the party structure, and that every other personality in there is lesser than them. At the end of the day, Sussan Ley is the leader, and to say that this is the beginning and the end of her leadership, I think, is an absolute fallacy. And the other thing I'd like to correct, I used to work for Bill Heffernan a really long time ago. And let me tell you, Bill Heffernan was a bit of an enforcer for John Howard. It is not unusual for leaders to have people who are the people that kind of make those phone calls and say, mate, you're out of line, you really need to either walk this back or you need to sort of make some resolution here. And Jacinta chose not to do that. She is someone who has prosecuted the case against victimhood most of her career. And to hear her say the very first moment she was criticised for this, oh, it's a woman problem, That is an insult to every woman in the Liberal Party, and I find it absolutely bizarre that someone who has campaigned against victimhood would try and hide behind that at the first possible opportunity.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that dumping Jacinta Price from the shadow front bench will end the matter and allow the Liberals to get back onto policy? Surely this is going to continue for the next week or so.
Well, it should end the matter. And for those MPs or senators that are still sitting in the party room that want to continue to stoke this as a matter, well, perhaps they should consider their positions as well, whether it's in the parliamentary team in total or not, if they're not part of the shadow ministerial team. As I have said and will always say, if you want to be a member of the big boys game, you want to be part of the big boys team, you need to be a team player. And that means no one is bigger than it. John Howard is probably the Goliath next to Robert Menzies of the Liberal Party, yet the Liberal Party managed to continue on post John Howard loss of an election and losing his seat in 2007. The party will be able to move on. Jacinta can take some time. You know, she's been in the Liberal Party, well, you know, not for very long at all. And she turned up and literally said to all the Liberal Party colleagues that she wanted to join, by the way, none of you are good enough to be deputy leader. And then she decided to not put her hand up when the numbers clearly weren't there for her. It was a silly move. I think she needs to really get some reflection and maybe get some new advisors, because whoever is advising her on these moves at the moment are advising her to hurt her own career. And I do worry that there are people encouraging her to do this who are using her as a bit of a front.
Hollie, I've got to finish up, but just one more quick question. You're right that Jacinta Price arrived in a fury into the Liberal Party. How much of this has got to do with her clumsy remarks on immigration, and how much of this has got to do with internal rivalry and jealousy of Jacinta Price's popularity in the public?
Absolutely nothing to do with Jacinta's popularity or rivalry. And the people that think it is have never been in a Liberal Party room where any of these decisions are made. And unfortunately, 99.9% of commentators have never sat in a party room. What this is actually about is the fact that Jacinta refused point blank to apologise for remarks. If she had apologised straight away, this would have been over. The Indian community deserves more respect from the Liberal Party. Mass migration is a problem in this country, and you know me, James. I have spoken out against that very, very strongly. But her inability to walk back those comments and apologise for them when a community was feeling real and genuine hurt has done her the damage. No one set this up. Jacinta made the comments unprompted on her own, and as I assume, made the decision on her own to not apologise, and therefore she's got to own the consequences.
Hollie Hughes, I've got to leave it there, but I appreciate you joining me tonight. Thank you so much.
Thanks, James. I'm sure I'm going to get lots of love. We'll have more on Jacinta Price. I'm not sure about that, but we'll see how we go.